3, 2, 1, showtime!
CO, hello, and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. This is our 40. Oh God, I've already messed up here. This is I have lost track of how many of these things we've done. It should be right here it's a 46th. I had it written down as 45th, but I knew we had an extra one there. This is our 46th episode, and we're happy to join us. This is our first time back for our fourth season, so we're still a little rusty, Diane.
We are. Like we forgot everything.
Forgot everything. I was trying to get everything, and I kept forgetting all the things. Diane's bothered me about a checklist with this stuff, and I realized I definitely do need one, because this one was a little rough to get everything up and going. But I'm happy to be back. So I was looking back, and our last episode was in June. So it's been a few months. I mean, we did have our special episode in July, our Barbenheimer, our one-off Barbenheimer. But yeah, so it's been longer than I even thought it was, I guess.
Long enough to forget how to do everything.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll say so. Yes, we're back, and if you haven't checked us out before, check out all of our past episodes and seasons. Last season was really fun. We had a lot of really great episodes, and our last episode was our best and worst of. So check that out. Check out our Barbenheimer one. This season we're going to be doing some things slightly different. Pretty much the same format, but we're kind of changing some things up, and those are like this episode. It's Diane and I. There'll be a lot of just Diane and I ones this time, and we'll have like 3 in-person ones every once in a while. And we learned from the Barbenheimer one that we did like talking about new releases. So in addition to our normal sort of ones of movies from the past 10 years, we'll be doing a lot more new releases, including next week's one. There'll be a new release. So it should be fun. Kind of, we're going to be shaking some things up, but keeping hopefully the things that you love. Excited for this? Which is us. We're keeping us, and there'll always be 2 movies. I guess those are the 2 things those are the things set in stone with this podcast, is us and the fact that there'll always be 2 movies.
There'll be 2 movies. That's right. I really enjoyed doing the Barbie Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. What I really think I enjoyed the most was that we went to the movie together, the 3 of us.
Yes.
Watched Barbie together, and then came back and talked about it, which I thought was a lot of fun. We didn't. The downside is we didn't have a chance to kind of let that movie sit with us. Instead, what you got was our immediate reaction after seeing that movie, which was interesting. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I'm glad we're going to do that next week, right? Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes.
And have you read the book? I
have not. Both you and Harrison have read the book. Harrison will be on next week. So yeah, it's going to be interesting from I guess I'm glad, because I've heard so many things about the book and stuff, but it'll be interesting to see from your guys' perspective, having read it.
Well, you know what was interesting to me? I saw an interview, and Martin Scorsese was staying pretty true to the book with the script, how the movie was going to go. But then after he met with the Osage people and some of the families that were involved in it, he changed the script to be more center focused on the victims versus, this procedural, I guess, which is kind of what the book is. It's kind of a procedural. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. I think,
looking forward to that one.
That had set in a while with the pre-production, like because of that, like, and they were like, this is Scorsese's next movie, and then it was like, we got to go back from the drawing board. So I mean, it's interesting now to sort of hear people talk about it, but at the time it was like, is this even going to happen? Because of like they essentially scrapped the whole first script that they were going to, and like they were shifting, like, because Leo's going to be in it, but who's he playing? Because I think he was originally supposed to be the FBI agent that came, but whenever it was originally focused on that part, and so it's kind of should be, I don't know, it's should be interesting to see how that all is. We're not going to see it. I'll make my gripe here, and I'll make it probably next week. We're not going to get to see it in the nice Dolby Theater because Taylor has her show.
Be careful, the Swifties will come after you, buddy. I plan on seeing that, by the way.
I think I'll probably see it too.
I think so.
Yeah,
going to the Dolby Theater to see that. I love concert movies.
Our double feature probably should have been Taylor Swift and
we should.
I don't know how you critique. You can't really critique the concert film. It was good, and his music, and I don't know. I mean, I kind of do want to see it though. I liked, I was in high school when whatever that, Shake It Off and Blank Space and Bad Blood. I mean, she was a very big deal. So, yeah, I mean, then before that, when she did country, we're here in Oklahoma, she was country. So you'd hear, I've heard Taylor my whole life. So I think she's talented, and she certainly has her fan base. I just wish I could have saw what I wanted in the theater. I wanted to see it. That's all I was saying.
It's okay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. I do kind of love how she went about getting that concert movie into theater. She just kind of bypassed the entire Hollywood system, didn't she? Yeah, a
lot of studios got upset with her because she just went straight to the distributors, which is the movie theater, which is. And the theater chains have been complaining for a while now that the studios have just been bullying them, and everything. So I don't know. I think that they thought this was a way to, get back at them and collect more, paycheck, and she gets more, and so Apparently, there were a few studios that were trying to tell her how it was, and you couldn't get it into theaters this quickly, and you have to have this long process, and we have to collect a profit off of it, and she's just like, oh, okay, I'll just go directly to the theaters, and they were all they were happy to make the deal.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame them. I kind of love that whole thing. I thought that was a great, here's how we can do this.
Yeah. Well, speaking of concert movies, I saw Talking Heads Stop Making Sense in IMAX, A24. Of course, we love A24 here. We watched a lot of their movies. They remastered it and put it in IMAX and everything, and it was beautiful. I love that movie. I love Talking Heads. They're my favorite band, and it's great to see that. So, we're talking about concert films, and that's considered the greatest concert film of all time. And I would agree with it. It's an extraordinary film. Jonathan Demme directed it, who directed Silence of the Lambs, my favorite film of all time. So it's kind of a lot of my favorite things, and I love seeing it.
We could do what is it, a song about your favorite things? Mm-hmm. All around that particular concert movie. Mm-hmm. Did you go to Oklahoma City to see that?
I did. I was in Oklahoma City that day anyway, so it was I'll stay and watch it because it played a week before it came out wide in a few places, because it was like a live version because it was also simultaneously premiering at Toronto International Film Festival, and so they played it there on the IMAX, and then they streamed a interview with the original Talking Heads, and this was their first time together in decades, and they were sitting there, and you can just feel the contempt that some of them had still to this day for
each other.
Yeah. They're it's there's still tension there, and I don't know. It's sad, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Guess you can't mend some of those things. Yeah, since we've been gone, I recently appeared on Sam's show, the Film Fan Club, so check that out. We talked about the last season of Reservation Dogs. Wanted to plug that. We also talked about just other things in movies, Blue Beetle, and just other recent things that we've watched, so that's a really fun one, so check that out wherever you get your podcast. And Sam will be on later in the season, so look forward to that.
What's the name of his podcast?
It's called the Film Fan Club, and fan club's one word. And yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've listened to it a couple of times. I have to find that one with you.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure I want to hear I think you and I have already talked about Reservation Dogs. But
yeah. I liked it. I just had some criticisms, and it's not like the themes, and it's not just and it's not even like how they go about their themes. It's just I do think there was some sloppiness in the show running of the overarching planning of it. Just seemed like, okay, if this was your destination and these were the sort of where you had to go, why did we take so many weird detours, or why did you go about it in that sort of way if that was your point? And that was just because I think probably, they hadn't ran shows before or did anything like that. It just seemed a little bit messy if that was your destination. That's all I was saying. Still an amazing, groundbreaking show. That finale is one of my favorite episodes of television, and the way that it sticks the landing completely. It's just like, if that was your planned destination, then that was just, not the way I think you should have went about it. But, oh well.
So if people want to hear more of your take on Reservation Dogs, they can listen to Sam's podcast, the
Film Fan Club.
Film Fan Club.
Mm-hmm.
I always appreciate Sam's takes on things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has some strong opinions about Blue Beetle, and that's even got him in some hot water online I've seen. So, yes, so check that out. We talked about that there too. So, and I'll tell you another one. If we're talking about things we watched while we were out, and I would have 100% spent a whole thing talking about this in theaters. I'm sure it's still in there. You can find some screenings of it, even though Taylor's filling up a lot of the things. The Creator is an amazing, amazing film, and I can't recommend it enough. It is that Gareth Edwards, he did it, and he's the one who directed Rogue One and a few other things. And we had one of his movies was going to be on this season, but we might have to move it to next season. But I was really blown away by that, and so check that out. It's John David Washington, which he doesn't stick out. None of the actors really, I think, stick out as like it, which is interesting. It's to sell it to you. I mean, they say it's like shot on a $4,000 camera. It really kind of grounds it. It has some of the most interesting sound designs I've seen in a theater. The way that it uses it was mesmerizing. It was just really interesting storytelling, and on a technical level, it was different than I've seen. And it was someone like, okay, we're making sort of a blockbuster, sort of like a character piece, but it's going to be kind of like grounded and interesting. It was just, I don't know. It transported me there. It seemed very real. And it took some of the most interesting technical choices, and where a lot of these blockbusters just seem samey and sort of make like they all just kind of do the same thing. It was like, oh, there's different ways you can push both sound and design in ways that I hadn't seen, and a lot of people aren't really experimenting with. So I do recommend you seeing that. I do recommend seeing it on big screen. Yeah,
and it's still out on the big screen.
Yes, it should be. I mean, I don't think it performed all that extraordinarily. And Taylor's now, like I said, in a lot of those spaces, which is good and good for her. I'm not saying that. Don't quote me as being. I'm just. You should have already went and seen it, I guess. But no.
It'll probably be dropping from theaters this coming week.
Yeah, but it was a few. Yeah, so that was the one I wanted to say. So anything you've watched in the meantime, Diane?
I finally finished Only Murders in the Building season 3. I'm a huge Meryl Streep fan, and I know everybody's a huge Meryl Streep fan, but she's just so phenomenal. Oh, she just fits into every role so seamlessly, so effortlessly. I mean, she just makes it all look so easy. And I just finished an audiobook that she was the voice actor, and I'm just in love with her right now. I'm going to go back and watch Mamma Mia just because I need some more Meryl Streep singing,
Yeah.
after seeing Only Murders in the Building. So that was one for me. And then I've been watching some documentaries, and I watched one about the soccer player Beckham, David Beckham.
I saw that advertised.
I kind of missed that whole do it like Beckham, that kind of thing. And I just, all I knew was that he was married to Posh Spice, and, they had a lot of money and were very, famous.
Yeah.
And, but so it was really interesting. It kind of started slow. So it was, the first, you kind of had to really stick with it to get into it. But I did not realize, first off, he started playing so young. And I mean, professionally, and that he and Posh Spice got married so young and had children so young. I mean, they have been together for years, and the documentary spans from when he was a kid, and his what kind of coach his father was, to make him into the player that he was, to today. I mean, it includes his family, and I mean, it was pretty intense, and in a lot of ways, I think Posh Spice, would kind of get, and it's terrible. I can't think of what her real name is.
Victoria.
Victoria, thank you.
I was like, why do you keep just calling her Posh Spice?
I know, because I couldn't think of her real name.
Yeah.
That she would get a lot of the blame for things that he was doing when it was all him, because he would just kind of decide, okay, I'm going to go play for Spain, and then let her know later, oh, yeah, you got to move the family and kids to Spain now. So she put up with quite a bit from him too, but they obviously have an amazing relationship. So that was a really interesting one.
Yeah. No, well, what's it on? Do you know what's
Netflix?
Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Is it a series, or is it a?
It's got like 4 episodes, I think, or three episodes that are like an hour, something like that. Well, then I got off on these. The volcano on White Island outside of New Zealand, and I love cruises. I love to go on cruises, and I like to do the onshore excursions. So I sign up for all the onshore excursions, not thinking that maybe these could be dangerous. This was kind of eye opening. These people go on a cruise ship, right, and they do this excursion onto White Island, which is, and there's an active volcano there, and they go to see the edge of the volcano when it erupts, and it was really incredible. You have to watch it. Of course, it might change if you ever go on a cruise whether you would go on this excursion or not. Let's see. And the volcano, I guess, on White Island is not like the ones on Hawaii where they just stream lava. They literally erupt. So.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. So anyway, that was, I don't know about watching that one. If you're going on a cruise, it was kind of like whenever I went on before I went on a cruise a couple of years ago, Jennifer took me to see Meg. Well, that's really not the kind of, maybe you want to go see right before you're getting on a boat.
Yeah.
To go on the ocean. So
the Megalodon, it could get you at any moment. Well,
anywhere there's salt water, there are sharks. So, right, they exist. So,
I still have not. I've never seen that movie, and obviously haven't seen the second one either, since I haven't seen the first one. It looks like fun. It seems like it'd be fun.
It was. The first one was a lot of fun. It was a good popcorn movie. There are a couple of places that are just hilarious. They're so serious about it. It's just like it's kind of like the Godzilla movies. They're really serious about Godzilla, and it's like it's almost comical.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was just going to say I accomplished during our break was I wrote a screenplay, so I'm very excited about that. I wanted to take a break in order to accomplish that sort of project and everything. So that was something I was able to do with the break, and I'm very proud of it and everything. So I just wanted to, say that here. So the break was, for something, and it was for that, I think. So, So, happy to do that, and happy to eventually shoot it and everything. So, looking forward to all of that.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. And so yeah, well, and I also want to say up top, we'll be doing this 10 episodes instead of 15 this season. So we'll run through December into December. So be looking forward to weekly double feature movie club. So let's jump into it. Ready to jump into it this week?
You talk about your documentary? I was going to talk about.
Oh, talk about my documentary.
The other documentary that I saw.
Oh, okay. Go
December
ahead.
was one that was created by my friend Cade here,
Oh.
and his friend Alex,
Yeah.
the cookie cutter, that has won numerous awards. So,
Yes, in the time since, so we have talked about it before because it was out earlier, but we haven't ever talked about. Yeah, now it's went through a few different film festivals and things. So yeah, during this break, it was up at Great Plains. It won best short documentary short, so that was really nice. And I think it played at Fly Film Festival, so it's played at a few different ones. It will be playing in a few weeks at the Will Rogers Motion Picture Festival in Claremore. So, and there it's been nominated for an award as well. So we'll see and everything. It's really exciting. I'm very proud of that work and everything. So yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes.
It's an excellent documentary, and I'm going to be at the Will Rogers Museum on November 1st, right?
To watch it,
Yeah, to actually watch it with you, and hopefully you can be there too.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, that's right down the road on Route 66. I think they'll get it. You know, it played earlier in the year up in Miami, and it did really well there too because it's just right across from there. So yeah, there's a few other ones. We'll see if it gets in. I think we have it in 2 other ones submitted, but their notification's not out yet. So we'll see if it gets put in any other ones. But yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, I do. I like that people connect to it, and people laugh at some of the funnier parts, and then people really are moved by it. It's always fun. There's a part that everyone always sort of gasps at, and it's and I'm like, I find that to be interesting that they're really into it that much that's this reveal gets them in the middle of a cookie cutter thing. So it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, yes, it's a lot of fun. And then I think that I know some people that now that they've seen it, they want to go to it because it is a Route 66 attraction in reality. So it's a good opportunity to, if you're doing the tour, to stop into this place because it was pretty amazing. I was impressed.
Yeah. Well, let's get started here. So this is we are starting with 2 gothic horror films. They kind of both. I mean, we'll get into it if we think that that's really the genre. They're both definitely gothic. Whether or not they lean in and out of horror at times. So that's interesting. But yeah, and we did that for Halloween. Halloween's just around the corner, and later in a few weeks we'll definitely have a really cool Halloween episode, but we'll save all that reveal till later. But yeah, so that is the Crimson Peak from 2015. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, and 2019's The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. So let's get started here. We'll start with a little musical interlude, and then Diane will give the plot of Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak is described as a gothic romance movie, but with a modern horror twist to it. The basic plot is that one that we've seen in many movies where you have the handsome English aristocrat coming to America to find a wealthy American bride whose father is an industrialist. And I love in this movie, and we'll talk about this more, who plays the father of this bride to be. And her name is Edith. She is an aspiring writer. She wants to be the next Mary Shelley. She can also see ghosts, which adds to the plot. Tom Hiddleston, who plays the dashing aristocrat, who actually does that very well, he and his sister, the lady Lucille, who's played by Jessica Chastain in a really great villainous role, take Edith back to their crumbling castle. I think it's in Scotland, if I'm not crazy. And the fun begins. And there's some amazing kind of modern twist to this that I wasn't expecting, but there are ghosts. So with that, Cade, let's talk about this movie.
Yes. Hopefully you didn't hear me chewing. I think I might have been on the mic a little bit when I was chewed or something whenever you're talking. But I muted myself.
It's okay. I get drinks all the time.
I was like, that's definitely, my mic was definitely on there.
Oh, it says it's the English Hills. That's where this
Hills.
Gothic mansion is.
It's dilapidated.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone could live
stinking.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the visuals of this, where this Gothic, castle is sinking into this red clay that looks like blood, coagulated blood, and the cinematography of that whole English countryside was just phenomenal. That's what really brought the horror for me. It was like this stuff is bubbling from everywhere. It comes out of the faucets, and it's incredible.
Yes.
Very, very interesting way to bring the horror in.
Yes, and I do think, the whole thing that's been set up it's set up right in like sort of the first scene where she's introduced, the main character, and that is she wants to be a writer, and they say, oh, what are you going to be like, Jane Austen? She's like, no, I want to be like Mary Shelley. And that's immediately set up of like, this is a movie that's sort of bridging those two sort of worlds of like, it is sort of has this Jane Austen style kind of opening. The first act is a Jane Austen, and the last two acts are Mary Shelley, sort of. They're horror, I mean, we don't go get like, Frankenstein with it, but
the fact that she's writing about ghosts, that's the tie-in, she saw a ghost as a child, and now she's writing about ghosts, or they're just, it's a metaphor. She can see it saying it's a metaphor.
The ghosts are not, it's not really a ghost story. The ghosts represent, it's a metaphor. And so, I thought that was really well done. I mean, I would say I wasn't in love with this movie. It was a watch, and it was, but it was very well, like, I think the cinematography and the world building and all of that is what's at the really what you're watching this for. And the Guillermo del Toro of it all is really great. I do think every idea that this movie talks about, it's like half of an idea. It's like, okay, now take it, you have it, now that's the start point. Now what are you going to do with that? And they never really do anything with it. It's just like, here's a thing, and it's like, okay, and here's an aspect of this character. I'm like, okay, now what are we gonna go for with that? And it doesn't really do that much, and I don't feel like there's a lot of themes, which is a little sad. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, the sets in this movie is brilliant.
They are brilliant. Getting back to the story and the plot, I thought when I watched, is this based on a book? Is this because it's like they want to make sure that they touch on all these elements that were in a book that were detailed and explained and how they tie into the rest of, but they didn't include any of that. They just touched on it. So, and then I realized it wasn't really based on a book, I don't think. And if I would like to go read the book, because I bet it was good.
I feel that makes sense that because I could see that, like, of it, like this being like an adaptation where they have to like include all of these other characters and all these things, and
but the moths and the butterflies and all these little bits and elements that that people who've read the book are expecting to see, because that was a big part of the plot. But so that was where that came from. And you
watch it. When I watched it, I was like thinking, okay, so what's this reveal? What are they going to be? The Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain. I'm like, are they vampire? I don't think they're vampire. Like you thinking that there's going to be some sort of, and I'm like, but I would know about it. Like I also like because I know most of the plot of the Lighthouse just from knowing about film and being and just hearing people talk about it. And I'm like, I feel like I would know what if they like turn out to be like cannibals or some sort of weird thing.
We would have heard about it.
Yeah. And everyone would be like, "Oh, you mean the Guillermo del Toro vampire movie or the Guillermo del Toro whatever?" But it's just like, so what's the reveal? And for it to sort of not be anything was kind of like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
Which
I can't. When they came out that she was not his first bride, I thought, oh, so they have actually lived forever.
Yes,
and
I thought that too.
This is why it doesn't bother them to live in this rundown, dilapidated,
I
mansion.
100% assumed they were the old people, like they were their grandparents that were talking about, like they had lived in this estate their entire life.
Yeah.
I thought that as well, like that, and
so we're gonna dispel that thought process for people who have watched this movie. They are not the live forever kind of people.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to spoil what it is, but I mean, I do think I'm glad that going into it, I wish going into it I would have known that,
I know, because I spent an awful lot of time
collecting the pieces.
Looking for those clues.
Yeah,
right?
that was most of the time I was watching it, is trying to okay, so that's a hint at something, and it's really, it's not, none of it's, don't watch the movie that way, because I definitely did as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because I kept going, do they drink her blood? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are they taking? Is there going to be some surgery involved?
Yeah, that they were somehow, with the ghost was want to somehow tie in with them too, and it really doesn't. It's just her perspective.
She sees ghosts.
She sees ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even know there are any around.
Yes.
I have to say, my favorite was when, oh gosh, the guy who plays her father. Oh my gosh, I was so excited to see him too. Beard, what's his name?
I have no idea.
Jim Beaver.
Oh, okay.
Jim Beaver from Supernatural days.
Oh, that is what he's from. Yes, exactly. I recognize him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved him on Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, he plays her father in this, and he, you can't take your eyes off of him when he's on screen. Mm-hmm. Even when she's on screen with him, or Tom Hiddleston's on screen with him, you can't take your eyes off him, because he's that big of a kid. I mean, he took this really kind of a small role that is just there to inform.
Yes.
And really made it into something, so that when it comes time for him to exit the movie, you're like, damn it, I really wanted to see more of him.
Yes. Yeah, no, he was really great. I love him, and he's just one of those character actors that appeared. I forgot. Yes, he was the one that was in Crimson or in Supernatural.
Supernatural, yeah. He just made the most of this role.
Mm-hmm.
He really did, and he's the one that you don't forget.
Yes.
Of all those character actors, even Charlie. How do you say Charlie's last name?
Hunnam. Right?
Hunnam.
I think it's Charlie. Hunnam.
I just don't get it. I think. He.
Sons of Anarchy is what most people know him for, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably his best role
that
he's ever played.
It's
the elephant's water for elephant, whatever it was. Yeah, he's kind of forgettable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was. I think it was you cast these two lead men that are kind of heartthrobs of that time, that specific time, and kind of make them be the dueling, love interest. I understand it from a casting perspective or a marketing, I guess, maybe perspective, that you get those audiences there.
And that's what the characters are for.
Yeah,
but Charlie's just not that.
No. People view him that way. I don't know.
I don't know if they do or not. He's just not.
I've
compared to Tom Hiddleston, I'm sorry. Tom Hiddleston's going to take over the screen, So.
Yes. Well, Tom Hiddleston has a better stage presence, I think, and everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's the best character in all of this was Jessica.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not my favorite Jessica Chastain.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That was worth the entire movie to see her in this role of evil.
Mm-hmm.
She is so bad. She's so bad in this movie. And by bad, I mean evil bad.
Yeah.
And she plays it, man. She is all in for it, too. I bet she had a lot of fun with this role.
Yes, it's this sort of, it borders on camp. It isn't like full camp, but it is but it is like kind of, evil, villain, kind of thing. And I think it's fun. It does seem like she had a lot of fun with it and everything. And it is what the role. It is what the role needed, and what the movie needed was something like that to sort of do that. And I thought Tom Hiddleston did a really good job in it. I
did too.
Yeah,
but he wasn't the evil one.
No.
You think he's going to be the evil one, right?
Yes.
And it turns out it was her. And the costuming, just the way that they did the difference between her and Edith, and how she was in this, the dark jewel tones, and all pure evil. Yeah, I liked her in this role a lot. You see Jessica in a lot of different roles, but this one I loved on her.
Yes. And I think I've talked about my love for Jessica Chastain as an actress. I think she's incredible. But I like that she does these different things, and that she's, people cast her in these different, a lot of people get, typecast in things they don't get to. She does a lot of different types of roles. And I think it's great. I love seeing her in film, and I'm glad we got to see her as like this sort of arch villain type thing.
Oh, I know. She was great. Just from the minute you see her from behind playing the piano.
The piano. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was like, okay.
How's that piano?
Yes. Up to that point, you think, it's Tom Hiddleston's going to be the bad guy. Until you see, and you didn't even see her. You see her from the back. And she's playing the piano, and it's like, oh, no, this is the real bad guy.
Okay, so the ring didn't even end up being important.
No. See, the butterflies, the moths, the ring. Yeah.
There's all of these little things that's like, I guess
that's why I thought it was a book.
Yeah. So they heavily focus on it. She's like, now's the time. And they're like all this stuff about like switching of this ring. Like there's just so many of these little things in this movie that like take up a big part of it. And I guess that the point of the movie is that is not the point. That the supernatural parts of this is not the point. Like I understand that they were setting that up from the beginning. Like it's not really about supernatural things. That's just the world that this takes place in. But it's still it doesn't mean it's satisfying. That doesn't mean you set up 9 different supernatural things and it ends up being none of them, or that they don't even like the ring. Now that you'll think of it, that is a thing that is so much part of it that it's weird that it seemingly means nothing. That I can tell.
Well, I think when he was going to take it to propose to Edith.
Yes.
And she said that she was the one who worked for it.
Yeah.
It's because she's the one who later in the movie, they explain how she worked for it, how she acquired it.
I see what you're saying.
See what I mean? And I don't want to give that away, but that's where the tie-in was. And then they did show the portrait with the person that had that ring on.
Okay. So it doesn't have a supernatural, like the hint is that it has some sort of supernatural quality, or at least that's the way I was reading it. That this had some sort of like almost convince, I don't know what you call it. Like it's like a suggestion sort of, or like like it had some sort of like seduction power or something. I don't know how you explain that. Yeah, but that's the way that I interpreted it. But I guess again, these were all misdirections.
Which might be what that was all about.
Yes,
all this was misdirections. Yeah. Yeah, the poor moth getting eaten by the ant.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I kept thinking that's gonna come back. Nope.
Well, I think in that case, it's about how it was like she was the butterfly and they were the sort of, there was the prey of that, like and she was this sort of beautiful thing that was being brought into their sort of web. And I thought she was good, Mia, whatever. Mia's that's she's.
You think of about 10 different actresses that could have played that.
Yeah,
she was to be like very fair and blonde, so that you can see the butterfly, and the costuming was amazing.
Yes,
so.
And we've seen her in a few different things. I mean, she was supposed to be, I guess, a star. I mean, she was in a lot of things during that window. They kept trying to make her a thing, and she was. Yeah, I mean, I agree. she didn't distract from the movie, and so I think that's the that's the positive.
Well, and I think she was believable as an educated girl of the time that wanted to be a writer. I thought that she was, at the same time, if you're going to make is it Anjani? How do you say that word? Mm-hmm. If you're going to make her smart, smart enough to notice that his attire was a few seasons off, that to be able to decipher all of this, right? To be that intelligent, then why would you make her so stupid to fall for his act?
Yeah.
I always kind of struggle with that when they do that, but they have to because you'd have no plot.
Yeah.
Right. But her dad was like, there's just something about this guy. This guy. But he didn't. He failed to even pick up on all the clues that she did. Yes. She was the one who figured out all these different things, but he's the one who had a problem with him. And she's the one who went, oh, you know what? I see all this stuff that just tells me there's something wrong with this dude, but I'm going to fall in love with him and get married to him anyway. Because I may be smart, but I'm not that smart.
I think within the movie it worked, but then when you think back on it, it doesn't. Like it kind of falls apart. It's
one of those work during the movie.
Oh, for me, okay.
But we're so used to seeing that. I think that it becomes. Yeah.
Well, that's what you're right. That's what's going. That's what the movie is. It's going. I mean, it has to. Yeah. And I thought, to me, the thing that probably distracted the most out of the movie, I wasn't the biggest fan of the ghost effects. Like in those, to me, like these in this world in which is so much practical sets and practical effects.
The elevator. Oh my God.
We do all of this, and then it's just a CGI ghost.
Let me put this on mute while you talk.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the CGI ghost situation. Maybe that's what they're seeing right now. Ghost out there. No, but the CGI ghosts, I thought that was the thing that really distracted the most. Was these ghosts that were very CGI focus. Okay. That really distracted me a little bit. Was the fact that they were all very everything was very practical and very but the ghosts were not. Did that give you enough time? I didn't have enough to say. I had one. My take was there were CGI ghosts and a practical, but I resaid that in about 20 different ways. So
yeah, Doug Jones, that was the guy who played the ghost.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, Doug Jones is in all those.
Her mother's ghost.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird because at times it seemed like there had to be some practical things, and if Doug Jones is in it, there is some things, but there's just like this CGI sheen that's, and like the wispiness is all over. It's like if this is a real practical thing, which I do think that some of the close-ups you could tell it was, but like it made it seem like we were doing all CGI, or that it was masking some of that stuff, and it was just like, oh, just make it real. Because when the close-ups and there was like this sort of ghoulish sort of thing, those were really cool. With the holes in their heads and everything, yeah.
So, would you recommend this movie?
That's a tough one. I was thinking about that, of whether I would recommend it or not. I mean, I wouldn't not recommend it. I do think that it's if you want to see all of Guillermo del Toro's movies, I do think you should watch this. I mean, I do think from that perspective, it's Guillermo del Toro, so it's good, but it's not his best work, and I do think that the script could have used a little bit more tweaking and things to it to make it great. But it was fun. It was fun. I mean, it was a nice watch. I don't think it wasn't like a slog, and it wasn't. It was of its time. I think we always sort of compare it to some of these that time period to other things like that, and I do think it's better than some of those other sort of supernatural things and of that time. So, would I recommend it? No, I would not recommend it, but not that's not a harsh. It sounds harsh, but it's not harsh. It sounds harsh.
That's very harsh.
But I also would not recommend it, if that makes sense. Watch it or don't. I haven't, as of before this weekend, I had never seen this movie. And I think I'd be fine, dying and never seeing it. I'm okay with other people out there dying and never seeing it. I don't think it radically changes your life, but I'm happy I did. I mean, I'm glad I watched it, but it doesn't change things. I don't know.
Here's what I think.
Go ahead, Diane. You save it.
For all the girls out there who have a boyfriend that loves horror movies, and he really wants to watch a horror movie, and you're going to have to go along with it, even though you don't like horror movies, suggest this one.
Yeah,
right. Because it's got the Jane Eyre kind of story to it that we all love, and but it also has the Bram Stoker kind of goriness that your horror loving boyfriend would love. So that would be my recommendation on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not a fan of horror, but you do want to watch a kind of a horror-ish movie, for the holidays, this would be a good one to choose.
Yes, it's good.
I don't recommend it for children, though.
Yes, I agree. I think
there are themes that are not good for children.
Yes, and it's weird because it presents itself like a studio film. It presents itself like here's like it's not even particularly at times like you think, oh, this is could be PG-13. Like it's not. You do think that at certain points, and then all of a sudden there's a blast of violence, and then you get to the end and sort of the reveals, and you're like, oh, okay, no, but it does. It presents itself like it could be that. And it's kind of, I think of Shape of Water almost at times presents itself like it could be PG-13, and then it goes places that's nope, and this is hard R, So it's he does have this sort of. Guillermo del Toro has this fairy tale sort of quality to his works. That's a big part of what he does, and it does have that sort of fairy tale-esque magic to it. That it makes it seem like it's like a all audiences sort of thing with but it does it's not. But no, I mean, I hate seeing sort of being that harsh. I do think it's good. It's not great, but. I don't know. I can't. I stopped myself from recommending it because because
it's on Netflix right now.
Yes.
So if you're looking for horror movies to watch on Netflix, are not going to tax your brain too much. This is a good one for that. It has a beautiful costuming, great production value, and the cinematography is just spot on.
Yes. And
it did win a few awards for those things. So.
So the machine didn't even play a huge part.
That we expected it to play a bigger part than
yes.
it did. A lot of misdirections in this one. Mysterious, suspenseful, and mysterious. That's those are good. Right now, it has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. 80% of Google users liked it. So it's
I liked
kind of a run of the mill. It wasn't anything really horrible about it.
I did find the one thing that I laughed at where it shouldn't have, I feel like I probably, it wasn't meant to, without getting into spoilers, because I don't want to spoil, because I do think this movie hinges on that. The last act deals with a variety of sharp objects, and and they increasingly get larger. Each person increasingly gets a larger edged weapon, and that I found that to be humorous, that they just kept finding, they start with a small object and it just repeatedly get to this larger and larger sharp. I'm like, okay, I did not think this movie was going to end with with a large knife fight, but it certainly does.
And not between two men.
Yeah.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
I think we could move on now.
Yes, we can. Yeah. So our next movie, we're talking about 2019's The Lighthouse from A24, starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. We'll have a short little intermission, and we'll be back, and I will explain the plot of The Lighthouse.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. all these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
Okay, I'm going to give the plot of the 2019 movie The Lighthouse. This was written by Robert Edgers and Max Edgers, and it was directed by Robert Edgers. It stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. They are, it's like in the 1890s, and it's up in New England. It's on a remote island there. And they are lighthouse keepers. Willem Dafoe is like a old sailor who now works on this lighthouse, and Robert Pattinson plays this new person that is working with him for 4 weeks. I want to say that's what the time frame was. And as it starts to unfold, there's storms. Willem Dafoe sort of he's the main guy in charge of that, and he tells him what to do, and there's tension that arises from that, and it's important to note it's shot in black and white. It is an almost 1-to-1 thing. I think it's 1.19 by 1, and it's this aspect ratio that's really tight and really cool, and it's certainly stylistically that's what's very important, but it does a lot of interesting themes, and it's a character study. It's a part horror, it's part psychological thriller. It's got a few different things. Part I don't know. It's kind of defies a lot of different genres, but that is The Lighthouse. It's hard. It's a hard movie to sort of explain. There's a seagull. There's different. You can. Without getting into certain things about it. But yeah, Diane, what did you think about The Lighthouse?
I think the way that I don't, watching his other movie, The Witch,
which we watched earlier, first season of Del Feature Movie Club. You can go and listen. I think it was our second episode. We talked about The Witch.
We did, and we both liked it.
Mm-hmm. We did.
This movie kind of has the same kind of vibe to it, and I thought of it as kind of a fable, of the.
I think that's sort of his works. They do seem kind of.
They have a fable to them, in that what can happen when darkness enters a man's soul, kind of thing. The first hour of this movie, I could not take my eyes off of it, and black and white. This is one of those generational things, Cade. Mm-hmm. I grew up with black and white TV, right? So black and white to me is like not necessarily a good thing,
Yeah.
Right? But it was definitely, I was grateful that it was in black and white after, by the time we got to the end of it. Anyway, what I was going to say, the first hour of this movie was so mesmerizing, could not take my eyes off of it. I am not a huge, Robert Pattinson fan or Willem Dafoe fan as far as just looking at them. And like you said, the ratio is so tight on the two of them. But they're absolutely mesmerizing for the first hour. And then it was like, okay, can we get it over with now? I mean, do we have supernatural beings here? Or is this a third dimension that we're going into? Or is this light, turning these men into something, and into a different, transporting them to another planet? Where are we going with this? And can you just get there? Yeah.
Well, Diane, a big shocker of the night. So I 100% agree with you.
Oh, I can't believe it. I mean, I thought, oh, this is a Cade movie right here.
This on all senses, this should be a Cade movie, and this should be something. I mean, I've heard so much things about. I'm like, oh, I already know I'm going to love this movie. I knew before it was even made that this movie I was going to 100% love it. I love ones that aren't like really like it's like just characters and it's not really explained, and it's like and it's and you have to really think on it, and I'm like, this movie's going to stick with me in a way. And I don't know, maybe I was in the wrong headspace when watching it, but I was very much like mesmerized. I'm like, as soon as it starts, I'm like, I am in this 110%. And then something happens where it's just like, okay, it did feel like this just kept going and going, and it's like, and it just at a certain point it started grating on me, and it's like I'm 100% with you. I thought I was going to love this movie, and I end up just being kind of lukewarm about it. And at times kind of irritated by it. I really was, yeah. So I agree. I don't actually have a whole lot of things to say about it. 'Cause I mean, I think a lot of people have dissected it. I think it has a lot there under the surface. And it's also probably a victim of hype. A lot of people hyping this up, other A24 movies I've seen in theaters, and it's like, and then I hear the hype later, and it's like, okay, and I have the sort of groundwork for it, and I also liked it or didn't or whatever. This one was one that I've just heard nothing but just praises for, and I've seen screenshots of these things on people talking about it and dissecting. Whoa, what's this mean? What's this shot and all that? So I really thought this was going to be something of really great. When it all came together, but it just didn't. It didn't do it for me. Yes, didn't do it for me. And it was sad, but yeah, I like The Witch more. I like The Witch more, which I wasn't. I want to see more of his. I wanted to see The Northman and didn't get out to see that, and I'm look forward to his Nosferatu movie. I didn't hate the movie. I think there's probably some people that probably would hate it, but it just ended up not being as great as I liked. I did like the ending. I like that little the lighthouse, the thing. That was the one thing that I was like, okay, I never had that sort of spoiled for me, so I did, but it just took a long time to get there. If that was your point.
I didn't understand the ending. I mean, I got the point. To me, it should have ended when he opened up the light.
Yes.
And then he fell down the stairs. That's where it should have ended. But instead, they take him, somehow he survived.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll spoil this movie, but not Crimson Peak. Sure.
And he takes off all his clothes and he lays out on the rocks to get eaten by seagulls.
To me, it was like going to another, like that perhaps was death, or that was this purgatory or whatever that these sailors end up being in, or this time, because like they end up coming back as these seagulls. So these seagulls represent some sort of messengers in between the other world and ours, and so yeah. So I think that that's the way I interpret it. I could be totally off base there, but yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought what I liked about his, like even the witch and this one, the pulling of these images. Like I love Lighthouse. I think like all that, making it black and white. Like I think that's so cool. And like pulling from, we're gonna take mermaids and just these different things that are of this pastiche, these motifs of that specific nautical vibe. I love that he takes these vibes that no one really talk, like they're part of the public lexicon, but they're not. There's no movies being made about them, and he's doing that because it's not quote unquote cool to make a nautical themed Lighthouse movie. But we all at least somewhat know about these things, sirens and these seabirds and that sort of thing. Like we know about them, but there's not movies about them, which I think is cool. He's cool.
That don't include Johnny Depp anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's pirate movies, but there's not old sea guy,
oh my
captain.
God. And whenever William Dafoe read that script, I even made a note about this, that he took the job just for the curse monologue.
Yeah.
When he placed the curse on Robert Pattinson's character.
Yeah.
That monologue and him, and that's why he took that role. It's just so he could do that in the wily old Captain Troll that he did. Yeah, yeah.
The voices were bizarre in this movie. Like, I don't know if anyone said that, but I could not. Like, they were all over the place.
Yeah, what accent was Robert Pattinson using in that? And at which point?
Yeah.
Because every scene, it was almost like he was using a different one. He went all the way from some kind of Midwestern to Maine.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally, when he did his little monologue, it was definitely a Maine accent. I could see Stephen King doing it. Ollie, shh. Okay.
He was agreeing with you. He was agreeing that with your take that Robert Pattinson's accent was.
He lasted an hour into that movie and then he left. He was like, "I'm not watching any more of this with you. I'm just not."
And this is the opposite effect. Like, I had a worse time watching it, but I'm actually more happy that I watched it just so that I have it off my list. I guess I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. And I didn't hate this movie either. I just at times it was grating. It was a grating watch. And I do feel like maybe I wasn't in the right space, or but what because you do have to sort of meet a film, I think, a little bit, but it didn't click with me the way that the first part half did.
Yeah,
so
me neither. And Robert Dafoe, to give him credit, he won a couple of supporting actor awards, the Critics' Choice, a couple of others, and he should, because he had to deliver lines while having dirt thrown in his face.
And that wasn't an amazing shot, and amazing like his performance like that. Yeah.
Oh,
and the way that looked with the gash and all that, like, I mean, that was like and it's slow push in, and somehow they had to get dirt past the camera. Like, I really thought that was just I agree that stood out to me.
Yeah.
There was quite a few different shots that, that really stand out. Most of them I had known, but I didn't know the dirt thing. I didn't know how cool those lights and lighthouses look in that black and white. That just looked like almost futuristic. It was cool. But yeah, no, it was funny, like at times it was funny. I liked how they had different, like almost had different personalities or different, they had different relationship in the day versus at night. I thought that was like, what was cool, that like like they were almost like off hours at night, but during the day he was very, and like even that was sort of set up like they didn't really talk, and then they talked at dinner, and then they have like this very sort of contentious, relationship. And it was an interesting relation. I guess like the core, that's what the movie's about, is this relationship between the two of them, and how kind of odd or whatever you want to say about it. Like it's just something you really don't see, how the way that it sort of evolves and goes in the film. And so in films. And so I thought that was neat. It's just, again, you're right. It just needed to get to its point a little bit quicker.
It did. And, and Robert Pattinson's character, he goes from being like, I guess he was a lumberjack, and now he's doing this. And he's, he's just not the sharpest, whatever they call it, the sharpest tack in that, whatever. Anyway, and then, then he uses a word like parody.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he sounds educated and from Maine. I mean, it's like that kind of threw me out too. So I don't know. I would you recommend this movie?
So that's so weird. Like I would only recommend it because of how much it is part of it is within film circles. I don't know if you had heard it or knew, but within film circles and everything, it is well regarded. And and it is one of those things that, like, for that reason, I guess, just to sort of know it and have seen it, I would. I mean, almost everyone I know has seen this movie, and like even like non-film people, like they have seen this movie, and it was just one that was just on my list for forever. I just never sat down and watched, and so it had this sort of, which is unfair to the film, I guess. It had all of this baggage and all this sort of cultural. Everyone, people have seen it, that it just didn't live up in the movie that I created in my head, or people's, selling of this movie to me. It's just like, oh, this was not that, and it was kind of dry, I mean, I can see why people like it. Because these performances are really interesting. Like, I think like it's almost the inverse of the other one. Like, where like it wasn't care for a lot of the. It just whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's not the inverse. I like the performances of both, but this performances, were exceptional. It's just, I just think it could have it just could have went by just a little bit quicker. Got to its point. I think what you said in the beginning is correct. It just should have got to its point quicker. So at the end of the day, I guess just to wrap up my part, I guess I would recommend it, even though I just not from a filmmaking perspective, not from just so it's off. I mean, it's so you have seen it, and it's not. And I would just know that it's going to be a little bit slower, know that it's going to be kind of just enjoy it from that perspective. It is a little bit of a tough watch. Just so know that. I don't know. I mean, it's like, eat your vegetables, I guess is what I'm saying. Do I think it's going to be good? No, I should, but do it.
Yeah, I don't.
My recommendations are all over the place here this time. Go ahead, Diane.
They really are. And I think if you're looking for a movie that you're going to learn something, this is not the movie for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that there's really a message in here too much. It's a fable.
Yeah, it's
I'm not really sure that they're good about telling you, what the message.
There's metaphors. There's themes. There's references. I mean, there's like almost like mythology sort of references throughout this. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it has like a morality to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like kind of all over the board in that sense. Yeah. So, but as far as entertainment value, first hour, I was trying to see how long the movie was.
It's 2 hours. I think it's an hour and like 58 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It could have been an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. I think it would have helped it. I mean, especially when you start like repeating, like, we get what they're really like. I understand that's the point of it, but like at a certain point, we understand that like they're not building on it. Like they are just like they're starting to like bump heads, and it's like, okay, yes, I understand, and like it's the same. It starts to being the same, really in that middle part of like it's tough because then you start to get into like. It should have been from a scripting perspective that they should have shrunk it down, because like there's good parts when you get into the like I can understand they can't when they see it all together. It's like, how do we cut this? Because if we cut the middle part, we miss that the whole scene with Willem Dafoe with the speech, and so like that's got to be important. But this other part sets up this, so it's like I understand that they can't, but from a scripting perspective, they could have consolidated that down a little bit better. So yeah.
Yeah, we didn't need to see the scene where William Dafoe was like, "Did you like my lobster?" I mean, they were starting. He's like acting like a gay couple that's like having an argument over dinner.
Which that is the point. Like I mean, like the people have said. I mean, like that is part of the thing. Is like it does that they almost have this sort of married couple vibe at a certain point. Like that is here's people that are in this sort of that is part of it. So I mean, like, but it there's many scenes like that, and they don't. But yeah, okay.
They don't need any more. So anyway, the one other thing was that Robert Pattinson, he really got a physical workout in this movie, man. Hauling that coal, and that was real. You could see where he is struggling with some of this stuff. At the same time, every day he's bringing this coal up. It's like you could have moved the rocks out of the path instead of having to go around them. I mean, it's like, okay, you're killing me with this stuff. So
to me, the most mesmerizing thing was somehow training a seagull. Like you'd have to that's gotta like they had to get the seagull. I mean, how do you even get a seagull to stand in a shot?
I'm sure they have training people.
Okay, well, maybe they do. I guess
Sure
so. Someone's got to own a seagull, and I mean, whoever owns the trained seagulls for Hollywood productions, when they got this call, they're like, "We've been waiting for this."
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were obviously like like they kind of old timey sort of, but like, and then I mean, the shot of him killing the seagull was, which that's a meme and everything at this point, but that is a really impressive shot that I'm still kind of interested in how they were able to then blend that, and then the blood that comes from it in the wide shot, is that digital blood? Like, I mean, how does that, or was there blood in this, like a bag of like a prop? I don't know.
By shooting it in black and white,
You can't tell.
yeah, you can. It makes that a lot easier to do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not recommending this?
If it's on your list, I don't know if I'm. This is the one thing we're supposed to have this season is we recommend or don't recommend them, and I'm doing a cop out on both of these. I do or don't. I would recommend. I'm glad I watched it, but mostly just because so I can cross it off my list. So.
I looked at it this way. I'll never get this 158 minutes back.
Yeah.
I knew Willem was a fine actor, so
yes.
I didn't need that. This movie did tell me that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like another movie a friend of mine recommended. Actually made me watch, where an actor that I had nothing but respect for had to deal with something being thrown in his face while he was trying to say lines.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I don't need that. I don't need that scene again in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Could have gone my whole life without seeing either one of those.
Well, I'm glad I saw that movie too, the one you're referring to. But
we're not going to talk about that.
That's a sad situation that was in one of our movies. You know, we watched that outside of the.
At least podcast. We got to watch Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. Well, I watched that, Diane, so that wouldn't be brought up again. So just remember that.
I
didn't
was the whole title.
Well,
Vampire Hunters. How can you go wrong?
You end up saying the whole thing.
I did.
Well, great. So did you not recommend it, Diane? Is that what we landed? Okay. You recommended the first one, but not the second one. Yeah.
Not the second.
And I really didn't. I either one of them. Do or don't. I think we need a third option where I'm just like, I'm apathetic about it. If you want to, if you don't. I'm not going to get. Yeah. I'm not going to get upset if either one. If I hear people say that they loved either one of those movies, I'm not going to get upset if they say they hated either one of those movies. That's sort of my feeling of it. They're both that way for me. But hopefully we'll have some really great movies or really bad movies. Those are also really fun to talk about. These were two movies that I felt, meh about. So, but we typically do, and typically Diane and I disagree. So this was a kind of an odd one.
Kind of an odd. Usually, I just knew the Lighthouse was going to be like the Ghost from last season, where you're going to love this thing and I'm going to hate this thing, and we're going to be like, how could this be your favorite movie when it was my least favorite movie? But it failed in that sense.
Yeah, I don't think either one of these will end up in my best or worst.
No.
Depending on if we have some, I guess we could have some really, really bad ones. These rise to the top, or we have some really, really good ones, and they're like, well, these are the worst. I don't know. I'd be okay. I'd be okay with these being the worst, I guess, if that means we have some really great movies.
After seeing both these movies, here's what I want. I want more Tom Hiddleston and more Jessica Chastain. That's it.
Well, more Willem Dafoe. I like Willem Dafoe and everything. So yes. Which we've only watched 2 Tom Hiddleston movies on here. And the last one we watched was really good too. So check that out. That was the end of our season. Last season was Only Lovers Left Alive, and that's a really good movie.
It really was a good movie. So let's talk about next week, maybe.
Okay. Well, let's head into preview time, and we will do that, Diane.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
When it comes to entertainment, you just can't beat a good film. Diane, it's now our 4th season of hearing that preview time. And has it gotten old yet?
No, but you know what's interesting to me is your imitation of that has gotten worse.
At this point,
so good at the beginning. It was like,
at this
wow,
point, I
throw it down, buddy. And
Yeah.
then now it's like, eh.
You're absolutely right. I was like, do I do it again? I thought about retiring it, and then I was like, I'll just kind of halfway do it.
It's kind of your signature.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I halfway did it. Maybe next week I'll go full into it with Harrison there.
I mean, yeah, use a main accent.
Yeah. Maybe each episode I do a different accent. Yeah. Quickly. So next week on Double Feature Movie Club, we have 2 films. Shocker. We have a double feature, and next week it's going to be like Oklahoma set shows. So since we are in Oklahoma, it should be fun. Our first movie is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's Charlie Kaufman, his most recent film, and you can watch that on Netflix, right, Diane?
Right. Yes.
So if you have Netflix, you can watch it that way. I believe it was even a Netflix movie, like Netflix made that movie or whatever. So check that out. It should be, well, I don't know if it's going to be fun. It's supposed to be, it's long. We're going to watch 2 long movies. So buckle up for that. And our other one.
And if you Google it, you're going to get the suicide lifeline. Just so you guys know. Yeah.
Okay. And then our second film is new release. It'll be in theaters. You can watch it in theaters. That is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Where can we watch that, Diane?
We're going to watch that at the AMC.
Okay.
So we're going to go watch that at the AMC and not the Dolby Theater because it's preoccupied. It's
preoccupied.
going to be occupied.
Yeah.
It's going to be occupied by Miss Swift.
Mm-hmm. So Swifties, have fun with that auditorium.
We're going to be hearing it too.
Yeah, we are. That's yeah.
I was thinking about that. There's going to be in the Dolby right around the time we're going to be in the little theater, and because we're sitting right against the back wall. Cade.
Well, all the rest of them are filled because we're in a tiny theater to watch this important movie. I mean, to be fair to AMC and everything, there were 2 screenings in the Dolby for Killers of the Flower Moon when we were going to that weekend. However, we don't really want to be recording our podcast at 10 o'clock at night after a 4-hour movie. So that's why we were like, okay, what do we do? So we went with the option of going that because the morning screening in the Dolby is tailored, so we had to go in the smaller theater. It's not a big deal. We're sacrificing for you, the viewer. Yes,
we've already talked about it. So.
Yeah. So you, the viewer, I mean, we're seeing it in a less par situation, so we can review it on the show. So just think about that. What we give to our listeners. Yes. You know, we give for you. Well, okay. Those are the 2 things we're watching. So yeah, and let us know next week if you enjoy us watching new movies and stuff. So it's going to be fun. We did that, like you said, with Barbenheimer, and we might start doing, we have a few rest this season that we will do that for. So we'll see. And we'll each episode this season, there'll be themes, there'll be for each night. So be on the lookout for that. Where you can hear about what we're doing beforehand and everything, or follow us along, watch our 60-second reviews. You can follow us on Instagram, on X, I guess is what it's called. In the meantime, since we've been back, there's been a change.
Whatever it's called.
And Threads also exists since we've been here last. So lots changed in the social media space, but we're at Double Feature MC. Check us out there. If you're listening to the audio version, you can always join us live on Sunday nights at youtube.com/Cade Thomas. If you're listening to the video, watching the video version, you can always listen to us later. We post Monday mornings the audio version of this wherever you get your podcast. So however you listen and everything, do that. And what do they need to do, Diane?
Subscribe, like us, and share.
Rate us 5
Click
stars.
all the buttons.
All the buttons.
Click them all the little hearts. Hit all the little hearts wherever you can.
Hit everything, and then so thank you. Well, Diane, we're back for another season. We're back
for another season. I'm excited to be back.
I'm excited to be back.
Cade.
I missed you. This is I really enjoy that. I mean, for all I said about all this, I enjoy watching these movies and getting watching ones that's off my list, and then I get to talk about them with you, Diane. I would have had to have just wasted 2 hours of my time watching The Lighthouse. I just had to have the knowledge that I watched it alone. Now I get to have experienced that with you. So
we get to share the pain. Share the pain.
Great. Follow us and everything. We'll see you back next week when we talk about I'm Thinking of Ending Things and Killers of the Flower Moon. Bye.
Bye.